All right, let's jump right into this explainer. If you're the kind of person who loves breaking down complex operations into really clear, actionable steps, you are absolutely in the right place today. We're going to take a deep dive into the EM platform's buyer decision screen. We'll just call it the BDS to keep things simple. We're looking at exactly how this tool bridges that massive gap between knowing you need a product and knowing precisely how much of it to actually order. Because, it all starts with this incredibly relatable question, right? How much do I order? Just imagine for a second that you're the person responsible for inventory. Every single day, you walk that store floor, you see gaps where products should be, you see shelves groaning under the weight of way too much stock, and traditionally, when it's time to build out that purchase order, you're pretty much flowing blind. You're making decisions based on a gut feeling, maybe a hazy memory of last week, or, honestly, just how much coffee you've had that morning. It's a daily grind that relies way too much on human memory instead of actual hard facts. Well, we are finally ditching that gut feeling in favor of pure data. The main goal of this explainer is to show you exactly how the BDS gives that intuitive gut feeling a solid, undeniable number to stand on. It takes the physical, chaotic reality of your store shelves and translates it into clear, actionable metrics that you can actually trust.
Okay, so here's our quick roadmap for today. 1. Ditching the gut feeling. 2. The 4 magic numbers. 3. How the system decides. And 4. Taking control and ordering. Let's kick things off with section 1. Ditching the gut feeling and moving from guesswork to data.
Picture this. You're walking the aisle. You point your scanner at an item on the shelf, let's say a jar of poire quan minced crab in spice. Bam! The second you scan that UPC, the screen instantly pulls up the entire history of that item. So instead of just standing there staring at an empty gap on a shelf and taking a wild guess, you immediately get a complete, highly organized snapshot of everything the system knows about this exact product, literally right in the palm of your hand. It's a real game changer. Moving on to section 2, the 4 magic numbers, which are the core metrics of the BDS. You see, the entire buyer decision screen is built on just 4 core metrics. The very first one is CPM, or cases per month. And look, it's exactly what it sounds like. It tells you how many cases of a specific product the store typically sells in a 30-day period. And to make absolutely sure it's accurate, the system averages this out over the last 90 days of sales history. So if your CPM says 1.3, it means the store moves about 1.3 cases every month. Simple, right? Now, looking back at our minced crab example, we can see a real-world CPM of 1.29 cases per month. And I love this because it grounds the whole concept in reality. You aren't guessing the sales velocity anymore. The hard, undeniable data is right there staring back at you. Okay, the second magic number here is last receive. This shows you the exact date of your last shipment, and, this is key, it provides a calculated, estimated on-hand amount of cases that should still be sitting on the shelf. Now, let's be super clear about something. This estimated on-hand number, it's not a live physical count. Someone didn't just walk over and count jars. It's math. The system simply takes the number of cases you've received and subtracts the units you've sold since that specific date. Then we have our third metric, last sold. This one tells you the absolute last day a specific product had a sale actually ring through the register. Now, I know that sounds incredibly basic, but trust me, this metric is absolutely crucial for spotting weird anomalies out on your floor. Think about it this way. If an item hasn't sold in, say, 3 days, yeah, that might be perfectly normal. But 16 days without a single sale? Whoa, that is a massive red flag. If a normally fast-moving item suddenly goes totally quiet for 16 days, it almost certainly means the physical shelf is empty and nobody noticed it or bothered to restock it. This last sold metric acts as a tripwire. It catches those invisible, silent stockouts way before an angry customer has to hunt you down to complain. And that brings us to the fourth and final magic number, DOS, or days of supply. Let's de-jargonize this a little bit. DOS basically answers one vital question. If you order a single case today, how many days will it realistically last before that shelf is completely empty again? So let's say a case holds 24 units, and your store usually sells about 1.1 units a day. Well, one case is going to last you about 22 days. And when you see a practical DOS of 22 days pop up, it just really drives home how this one little metric effectively predicts the future. It lets you know exactly how far your very next order is actually going to stretch. Which leads us into section 3, how the system decides using adaptive ordering logic. Now, here is where it gets really cool. This is where the system takes those four numbers we just talked about and uses them to do all the heavy lifting for you. Let's walk through how intelligently it adapts based entirely on what kind of data it has to work with. If your receiving data is nice and fresh, it uses smart order mode. That means it takes your CPM, subtracts the estimated on hand, and finds the exact gap you need to fill. But what if there's no recent receiving data? No problem. It safely falls back into standard refill mode. It ignores the on-hand estimates and just multiplies your daily velocity by the days in your refill cycle. What if a fast mover goes totally silent for over 14 days? Well, the system detects a potential stockout, flags the shelf, and automatically pushes you to refill it. And finally, if there have literally been 0 sales in 90 days, it drops into custom mode. The system is smart enough not to pretend it knows everything, so when it's uncertain, it just steps back and asks you to input a manual quantity. But honestly, here is the absolute best part for the person actually standing on the floor. After crunching all that math and running all that logic, the system just gives you a plain English sentence telling you what to do. You'll see something like, "You're running low. One case will cover your next cycle." That's it. You don't get hit with a wall of confusing formulas. But hey, if you're the kind of person who loves the details and you want to verify the numbers, there's a handy little logic math link that reveals the step-by-step calculations right there.
All right, moving on to section 4, taking control and finalizing your order. Everything we've covered today leads to this exact moment, and the workflow here is just wonderfully clean and logical. You're walking the floor. Step 1, scan your product. Step 2, review those 4 data tiles and read that plain English sentence. Step 3, adjust the quantity. Look, if your human experience tells you, hey, a massive holiday weekend is coming up, you just hit the plus button to override the suggestion. You are the boss. And step 4, adds a PO. And listen, you can have total peace of mind the second you hit that button. Your PO queue is immediately backed up to the database. It actually survives a page refresh, so you're not going to lose all your hard work just because your handheld device glitches out in aisle 4. Plus, it automatically groups everything by vendor, so the whole shebang is perfectly organized and ready to print when you finally sit down to finalize the purchase orders. So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is summarized perfectly by this quote. You're always in control. The system is giving you a starting point, not a mandate. The buyer decision screen does all the heavy mathematical lifting so that you don't have to. It turns what used to be a chaotic, stressful guessing game into a streamlined, data-backed workflow. So I'll leave you with this to think about. Consider your own workflows today. Now that you know how these 4 magic numbers can completely clarify the physical reality of a store shelf, how might you use these automated, intelligent starting points to completely transform your own inventory process?